Traditional Shaiva evocation, seeking clarity, harmony, and inner attunement. I respectfully invite Ms. Nitya K.D., Research Scholar of Nandakumar Institute of Applied Studies, to lead us in the prayer. All are kindly requested to be seated in the prayer.
अमृतेश्वर भैरवं स्वच्छन्दनाथं श्रीकण्ठनाथं ऋषिदूर्वाससं मानसपुत्रं त्र्यम्बकनाथं अमर्धकनाथं श्रीनाथं मानसपुत्री अर्धत्रयम्बकाख्या त्र्यम्बकादित्यं सङ्गमादित्यं वर्षादित्यं अरुणादित्यं आनन्दं सोमानन्दम् उत्पलदेवम् आचार्यवरं श्रीशम्भुनाथं लक्ष्मणगुप्तम् अभिनवगुप्तं क्षेमराजं योगराजं च श्रीगुरुमणिकागं शैवाचार्यं रामं तत्शिशं श्रीमेहताबकागं गुरुसन्ततेरपि अवतारितं शैवशम्भू ईश्वरस्वरूपं लक्ष्मणजू भैरवं रुद्रं शिवतन्द्रं भैरवं रुद्रं शिवतन्द्रम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं महान्तम् अभिनवगुप्तं शैवशङ्कर अवतारितम् ईश्वरस्वरूपं पुनः पुनः नमामि.
India's cultural heritage is marked by remarkable journeys of ideas, rituals, and philosophical insights that traveled across regions and evolved through dialogue with local cultures. Among these currents, the Gurma tradition of Kashmiri Shaivism stands out as a sophisticated yet often overlooked system. This film seeks to bring its story into clearer focus
exploring how a Shakta Tantric tradition with roots in far north established itself, contributed towards religio-cultural life and impacted the society and polity significantly in the south, particularly Kerala. Tantra represents one of the most influential streams of religious thought in South Asia. Tantric systems played a formative role in Hindu and Buddhist traditions, informed Jain ritual culture, influenced Sikh devotional poetry, engaged extensively with folk and tribal traditions, and contributed in various degrees to Islamic and Christian religious expressions in South Asia. Understanding Tantra helps us understand India's intellectual and spiritual history as a whole. Although rooted in Kashmir, the Krama tradition has long established expressions in Kerala, locally known through names such as Shakteyam, Mahatha, and Kashmir Sampradaya. The tradition has shaped the region's Shakta ritual landscape, while several ritual practices linked to Krama continued in Kerala. The interpretive traditions that once explained their philosophical depth have faded. What remains in many shrines and communities is a living practice in need of renewed articulation. Recent studies show that this tradition is not a hypothesis but a demonstrable cultural reality, yet much of its intellectual heritage remains undocumented, understudied, or vulnerable to loss. This seminar aims to bridge the gap between living ritual practice and scholarly understanding. It creates a space where students, researchers, and practitioners can rediscover the richness of Krama, understand its philosophical foundations, and appreciate its unique role in connecting the cultural histories of Kashmir and Kerala. Now, respected dignitaries on the dais, honored speakers, distinguished guests, and dear participants, it is my privilege to welcome you all to the Krama and Cultural Flow, Kashmir Shaivism between North and South India program organized by the Abhinava Gupta Institute of Advanced Studies in collaboration with Indian Council of Philosophical Research, School of Sanskrit and Indic Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, School of Cultural Studies, Central University of Kerala, Department of Yoga, Central University of Kerala, Department of Malayalam, Central University of Kerala. The theme of this program invites us to reflect on Krama not merely as a philosophical concept, but as a living principle of cultural flow, continuity, and transformation. I now invite Dr. Ramanand, Director, Abhinava Gupta Institute of Advanced Studies, to deliver the welcome address.
Om Namah Shivaya. Respected Chairman Sri Sri Rajneesh Kumar Misraji, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Central University of Kerala, beloved Chief Guest Sri Sri J. Nandakumar ji, beloved Sri Sri Ajay Kumar ji, respected scholars, practitioners, and seekers of knowledge gathered here. It is with profound joy and deep sense of fulfillment that I stand before you today. The Abhinava Gupta Institute of Advanced Studies, in collaboration with the Central University of Kerala and with the gracious support of the Indian Council of Philosophical Research and Jawaharlal Nehru University, comes together to host this unique seminar, Krama and Cultural Flows. Kashmir Shaivism between North and South India is not merely an academic gathering, it is a living act of cultural remembrance. It is an attempt to perceive the unseen spiritual threads that have silently woven the civilizational unity of India. Kashmir Shaivism, particularly its Kula Krama system, stands as a remarkable philosophical spectacle where thought is inseparable from practice. It is not merely a doctrine, but a praxis, a lived spiritual science. Yet tragically, its lived form has remained largely unseen. While scholars across the world, from Oxford to Hamburg, from Chicago to other great centers of learning, study Krama philosophy with deep academic rigor, very few have witnessed its ritual embodied reality. Due to the complex and painful religious history of Kashmir, many Kula Krama ritual traditions gradually disappeared from the valley, giving rise to the assumption that they were lost everywhere. However, as a matter of wonder and immense academic significance, the Kula Krama system continues to live vibrantly in Kerala, particularly in the ancient Shakta Kavus, where Shakti is worshipped in her profound form as Chanda Yogeshwari. The Musats and Pidaras, the Shakta Brahmana lineages, have preserved this sacred system with extraordinary fidelity. To explore, document, and understand this hidden treasure is not merely an academic responsibility, it is a civilizational duty. In doing so, we reconnect the scattered fragments of India's spiritual map and reaffirm a truth often spoken yet rarely realized. National integration is, at its core, spiritual integration. This seminar, therefore, is not just an intellectual exercise, it is a sincere attempt to draw the attention of scholars and practitioners across the world to the profound Kala Sangarshini enigma that continues to breathe within these sacred temples. On this occasion, I cannot proceed without remembering with reverence the deep emotion the late Dr. Mark Ditchkowski. Even in the final years of his life, he traveled with us to these temples, walking sacred grounds not merely as a scholar, but as a seeker yearning to experience the great cultural mystery. His presence continues to inspire our work. Dear friends, setting aside the rigid formalities of the protocol, I welcome you all not merely as guests, but as blessed witnesses to a historic moment. Each one of you has arrived here by a convergence of grace, destiny, and inner calling. I most cordially welcome the chairman of this function, Sri Rajneesh Kumar Mishraji of Jawaharlal Nehru University, whose scholarship and guidance continue to enrich us. I extend my heartfelt gratitude and respectful welcome to the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Central University of Kerala, Sri Sidhu Algurji, for graciously granting permission to host this program and for becoming an active collaborator in this sacred academic endeavor. I warmly welcome Mananiya Sri J. Nandakumar ji, National Convener of Prajna Pravah, a guiding light for us and a powerful national voice of our times, respected and heard across the globe. I also cordially welcome Sri Ajay Kumar ji from Central University of Jammu, who serves as the co-principal investigator of Abhinav Gupta Institute of Advanced Studies and whose presence strengthens this collective vision. May this seminar become a sacred confluence of scholarship, experience, and remembrance. Om Namah Shivaya.
I now respectfully invite Professor Rajneesh Kumar Mishra to deliver the presidential address.
नौमि चित प्रतिभां देवीं पराभैरव योगिनीं मातृमान प्रमेयांश शूलाम्बुज कृतास्पदां. Namaskar to all of you. Uh, we have on the dais Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, माननीय नंदकुमार जी, भ्रातृवर अजय कुमार सिंह, एंड प्रिय मित्र और भ्रातृवर श्री रामानंद जी, and very learned audience in front of me. I don't know how to say anything in front of you. But you see, 2-3 things I would like to share with you in the beginning. And that Panini, a great grammarian of 7th century BC, has a sutra. It is Adarshanam Lopa. Adarshanam Lopa. He is describing the phonological process in the grammatical operation. You know, there is a phonological derivations or so. So there he says Adarshanam Lopa, that that which is non-visible, mark this, non-visible simply, is called lopa, deletion in that sense. Non-visible doesn't mean non-existential. Okay, it is very much there. It is maybe in the hibernation, maybe not taking part in derivational process actively. It is not visible, but it is very much there. Nothing is lost. This is the beauty of our tradition. You know, if in one place it is non-visible, it will manifest in other place. You know, so because this land, this holy sacred land, what we know as Bharatvarsha, is the land of unified, all-pervasive consciousness. This is Chaitanya that binds us together. And this kind of divide north and south, this was popularized with intention during the British time. It has no relevance for us. You know, we take the Puranic geography, the Vindhya mountain range is the reference point. North of Vindhya, there are 5 gods, and south of Vindhya, there are 5 Dravidas. This is the country. Okay? So nothing like north and south. And that's why you see there is a continuity of tradition throughout the land, and we have this, we have preserved this tradition despite all such episodes of upheaval and loss. There is in Kashmir Shaivism itself, there are several episodes where we are informed that this lineage is lost. Agamas were lost at a time, then Bhagwan Shiva himself appeared and, you know, preached it to Durvasa, and this is how tradition goes on. We have the tradition of 28 Vyasas so far, okay? What does that indicate? We preserve our tradition, you know, in this mechanism through narratives, through the Vyas Parampara, and through the continuous tradition of texts and thinkers in our country. And in this context, I would like to say something about this Kashmir Shaivism or Trikadarshan, as pointed out by Sri Ramananji, that it is not simply a philosophical system, you know. It is not like logic or Anvikshki or something, you know. It is a tradition, a philosophical system that combines Shastra and Sadhana together. Shastra and Sadhana together. I would like to add one more, and that is Shastra also. Indian culture is about these 3 things: Shastra, Shastra, and Sadhana. Shastra to protect this grand tradition and civilization, not to, you know, subjugate others, but to protect ourselves. So we have great tradition of warrior saints and all. So this is how it combines, and because of several reasons, you know, in Kashmir, particularly this tradition of sadhana was greatly interrupted. But fortunately, as I told you, that if it is non-visible in one place, it will manifest in other place. So we have here in Kerala that continuity is still going on, that tradition is still going on. This is how it goes on. You know, we have a tradition of great thinkers, texts, and exponents. Quite often we ask how relevant they are today. This is not our question. We have never asked in our textual scholarly tradition that to what extent Shankaracharya is relevant today or Abhinavagupta is relevant today. We have never asked. But we have inherited many things knowingly or unknowingly from the West. And one of them is the question of relevance. Great thinkers, traditions, and texts are beyond this, the question of relevance. In fact, if we do not study them, if we do not know them, we will be irrelevant to our own time and space. So this is our duty, as pointed out, this is our civilizational dharma to preserve, to be with them and to continue with that tradition. Many more things can be said, and particularly Kula and Kram tradition, that is very, very important as they pertain to this sadhana aspect of Kashmir Shaivism. Because you see, right from the Upanishad, we have a very clear understanding of Vidyas, Paravidya and Aparavidya. And this is the civilization that has been in incessant, quest for knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of the self. Atma vare drashtabhya srotabhyo mantabhyo nididhyasitabhya, etc. So this is the self, that is the prime concern of our quest, civilizational quest. And rest of the disciplines, art forms, these all are the different avenues to search for this self. That's why this Sanskriti is known as Adhyatmic Sanskriti. Adhyatma, Atma is the prime concern. Knowing other things without knowing one's own self, how far that is going to be productive or reliable at all. So that has been the crux, and we have never stopped it. There is no full stop, Purna Viram in this continuity. We begin with Jigyasa, and there is Neti Neti. It's a continuous quest in the domain of Shastra and Sadhana. So Paravidya and Aparavidya. Apara is all Shastra, intellectual texts, you can say, where you engage with the issues and try to find some logical conclusion. But that is not the end. All such things have to be translated into the domain of experience. Sarvam khallamidam brahma, aham brahmasmi. These are just sentences, okay? But the important thing is that to realize them also. That's why Paravidya. Dve vidye veditavye. This is how Rishi says. Dve vidye veditavye. Two knowledge, Vidya, both are to be known. Paravidya and Aparavidya. Yad Brahma Vido Vadanti. And he's saying this is how the great seers and the knower of Brahman has stated. Yad Brahma Vido Vadanti Parachaiva Paracha. Paravidya and Aparavidya. These are the two. So this is how that makes sense in our culture. It's not just logical inquiry, intellectual inquiry, but ultimately we need to realize them, And for that, Kul and Kram Shakha is an important aspect of Kashmir Shaivism. And we are really lucky, we are really fortunate that this seminar is taking place in this land, holy land. Kerala is known for its scholarship. When we were working on the manuscripts of Acharya Abhinavagupta, most of the manuscripts were found from Kerala itself, most of them. So you can say the continuity of the tradition, Kashmir and Kerala, and there was another disciple of Acharya Abhinavagupta, Madhuraj Yogi. He belongs to Tamil Nadu. So this is unique Despite of limitations of communication system and also, people were well informed what is happening in which part of the country. So intellectually, by means of consciousness, this is one unified adhyatmic chetana that binds us together. And in this context, we think that we'll continue with our discussion in the forthcoming sessions. You invited me and given me this honor. I'm really humbled and much deeply obliged. Thank you very much.
I now invite Honorable Vice Chancellor, Central University of Kerala, Mananiya Srila Sri Sidhu P. Alagur to deliver the inaugural address.
Namaskar and very good morning to one and all. The president of the today's function, Sri Janamnews Mishraji, the professor JNU New Delhi, and former executive council member of the Central University of Kerala as well. Sri Nandakumar ji, who is going to deliver the keynote address, the national convener Pradnya Pravaha, Dr. R. Ramanand, Director of Abhinav Gupta Institute of Advanced Studies, Sri Ajay Kumar ji, Dr. Jay Prakash, Professor Rajan Pilangetta, the faculties of the Central Universities of the Kerala, the various resource persons who are witnessing these 3 days conclave, and the researchers, scholars, invitees, media persons. First, let me wish you all a very happy Makar Sankranti. So today is the 14th January, that is the Makar Sankranti. So we are inaugurating this 3 days conclave on the very auspicious day. I strongly believe that with this very good day inauguration, the next 3 days, all the research scholars will have a very meaningful deliberation and lot of takeaway from these 3 days. Well, having said this, at the outset, I wish to emphasize that the subject before us today, that is Kashmiri Saivism, is not merely a regional philosophical system, nor is it a relic of India's past. It is a discipline of global importance, offering one of the most sophisticated articulations of consciousness, reality, and human experience. Kashmir Saivism presents a non-dual vision in which consciousness is not an epiphenomenon of matter, but the very ground of existence itself. Long before contemporary debates in philosophy of mind, phenomenology, or consciousness studies emerged in the modern West, this tradition has already developed a rigorous, experiential, and metaphysically coherent account of awareness, embodiment, perception, and freedom. Today, as the world grapples with questions concerning the nature of consciousness, subjectivity, and the limits of materialistic paradigms, Kashmir Saivism speaks with renowned relevance. One of the most remarkable thinkers of this tradition, Mahameshwara Abhinavagupta articulated these insights with philosophical depth and aesthetic sensitivity. He is a genius lay in integrating metaphysics, ritual, art, language, and lived experience into a single unified vision. Significantly, he conceptualized the reality itself through structured pathways of manifestation. Abhinavagupta was not merely speculating cosmologically, he was proposing a radical rethinking of space and time as modalities of consciousness itself. Space is not an inherent container, and the time is not an external flow imposed upon the existence. Rather, both emerge from the dynamic self-expression of consciousness from Shiva's own freedom. In the era of when physics itself is questioning absolute notions of space and time, when neuroscience struggles to account for subjective temporality, and when philosophy seeks a new integrative framework, such insight from Kashmir's Shaivism invite serious global engagement. What makes today's seminar especially meaningful is its focus on karma system, a powerful and subtle stream within Kashmiri Shaivism. As the eminent scholar Dr. Mark observed, Kerala preserves the highest form of Kashmir Shaivism, namely the karma tradition, with its profound focus on Kali as the dynamic, temporal, and transformative power of consciousness. This observation invites us to rethink how we understand cultural transmission in India. Philosophical and ritual traditions in this land have never been static or confined by geography. They traveled, transformed, and took root in new soils without losing their inner coherence. The karma tradition, which once flourished in Kashmir, did not disappear with historical upheavals. Instead, it found continuity and living expression here in Kerala as well. The very region in which my university is located, that is Northern Kerala, bears deep and unmistakable imprints of karma system. As we speak today of civilizational revival, it is imperative that such communities and traditions are not merely studied but honored. This seminar, therefore, is not only an academic exercise, it is a part of larger effort to recover India's internal civilizational dialogues, to understand how ideas travel between Kashmir and Kerala, how metaphysical insights were embodied in ritual and polity, and how regional cultures participated in a shared pan-Indic intellectual ecosystem. For the Central University of Kerala, this occasion holds special significance. Universities must serve as a space where local heritage and global scholarship meet, where regional traditions are studied not as a curiosities but as a contribution to universal human thought. By hosting this seminar, our university affirms its commitment to Indian knowledge system, rather Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, as a living, dynamic, and globally relevant disciplines. In conclusion, Kashmir Shaivism, and especially the karma tradition, constitutes an invaluable heritage of Kerala and India. It offers profound insight into consciousness, time, space, aesthetics, and liberation. At a time when humanity seeks integrative wisdom and transcends fragmentation, this tradition speaks with clarity, depth, and transformative power. I'm confident that the deliberations over the next 3 days will deepen our understanding, inspire new research, and strengthen intellectual bridge between region, discipline, and generations. With these words, once again, I welcome all the delegates and formally inaugurate this 3 days seminar. I wish the discussions be very fruitful and meaningful. And finally, I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to inaugurate this 3 days deliberation. Thank you all. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
I now respectfully invite Mananiya Srila Shri J. Nandakumar, National Convener, Prajna Prabha, to deliver the keynote address.
Om Namah Shivaya. Respected Chairperson Professor Janamnews Mishra ji, Honorable Vice Chancellor, who just now inaugurated our 3-day seminar, respected Professor Ajay Kumar ji, and my dear brother or guru, what is to be said, I don't know, one who is behind all these type of atrocities, Dr. Ramanand, one who got a doctorate from JNU itself, and he is doing that medicine treatment to the society. He got doctorate from social medicine, is it not? So that treatment is going on. So such brother Dr. Ramanandji, distinguished scholars, esteemed delegates, and my dear friends. It is with a deep humility and sense of civilizational responsibility that I stand before you today at this international seminar on Krama and cultural flows, Kashmir Shaivism between the north and south of Bharat. Some might have noticed the subtle change I have made in the title. I haven't said that North and South India. I have said North and South of Bharat. Somewhat our Honorable Chairperson has already mentioned about that division. I have deliberately rendered the title in this manner, for the terms we use already shape the frames within which we think. The familiar division of North India and South India, though convenient in modern discourse, belongs largely to colonial cartography and administrative logic. Our civilizational sources speak instead of Uttara Patha and Dakshina Patha, not as opposed cultural blocks, but as interconnected cultural corridors through which texts, rituals, ideas, teachers, and metaphysical insight traveled. This indigenous vision of space is beautifully captured in the Puranic assertion, Ekamevahi Tattvam Bahutha Pradibhati. The one reality appears in many forms. To speak of the north and south of Bharat, therefore, is not to invoke a binary, but to recall a spatial imagination in which cultural flows precede borders, movement precedes maps, and unity is sustained through circulation rather than uniformity. In this sense, our gathering today is not merely an academic exercise, it is also an act of decolonial remembrance an attempt to recover how this civilization has historically known itself across time, space, language, and social form. Now, let us think about the speciality which I found in this seminar. Most conferences are organized around themes. This one, I would suggest, is organized around a question. What does it mean for a civilization to remember itself after centuries of colonial interruption and ideological distortion? When we speak of Krama and cultural flows, when we invoke Kashmir and Kerala in a single breath, we are entering into a reflection that moves far beyond any single text or region. We are in truth asking how Bharat knows itself, how it has historically known itself, how that self-knowledge was obscured, and how it might be reclaimed in our own time. That is what which I have already mentioned, that we all have that civilizational responsibility to fulfill. Here, we have to think about the very concept of nation itself. When we are talking about the continuity of this nation, right from the north to south or south to north, that is all about the Rashtra or nation. At the outset itself, let us think about Rashtra first of all. There are three types of thinking about the Rashtra concept of nation concept. First two are very much against the very concept of nation or Rashtra. Both of them are not considering this nation as an ancient one, even one. They are not considering it as one. So I have put two names for them, that ideologies. First one is Navarashtravada. To understand it, I would take a phrase from a famous speech, the Tryst with Destiny speech. I would like to take that particular phrase used by that great man from the Red Fort while he spoke. We are a nation in making. So from that particular phrase, you could understand that they are not believing in the nation itself. They are not considering that this nation existed before, neither in the past nor in the present, and need not be in the future. Why I said so? If we are saying that we are making this nation, it was not a nation in the past. When we are making now, it is not a nation now also. There is a 50-50 chance to become a nation in the future. That's all. So 2.5 out of 3, they are negating the existence of the nation. That is Navarashtravada. It came into existence only after the Britain constructed the railway line. English government has established the post offices. Then we have started becoming a nation. That is Navarashtravada or neo-nation concept. Second one, that is Bahurashtravada, multi-nation concept. Not one, it is many. A multiculturalism. And all these aspects are being told by some people, I don't want to name anyone, but they are also not considering this nation ever existed as one. But there is a concept, I feel, that we are all believing, those who have come for this conference, that is Chira Rashtravada, a permanent Rashtra concept. It was there even before Veda came into existence. This nation was there. That is why in the Vedas itself there is mentioning about Rashtra. If there was no nation before nation, there can never be a nation concept in the Veda. Samudra Paryanta Ekarat. Up to Samudra, right from Himalayas, there is a Rashtra. It is there. And also in Atharva Veda, how Rashtra came into existence has been clearly spelled out, clearly defined. Bhadramichanda Rishaya Survida Tapo Dikshamupasedu Regre Tato Rashtram Belamojascha Jadam Tadasmai Deva Mupasannamantu. The whole Devatas are giving namaskara to Rashtra which was born out of the tapasya of the great rishis, did the tapasya for the welfare of the whole, not for him or his wife or his family. He did the tapasya for the Sorvida. This Sorvida concept is very much there in all theories, all traditions, all granthas of Bharata. Sarvepi sukhinas santu, sarve santu niramaya. Everywhere you can see, even in the modern scriptures, like Vikramorvashiyam of Kalidasa, Sarvas Taradu Durgani, all must go beyond this Durga. So this Sorvida concept is there. That is the speciality of this Tirarashtravada. This Rashtra was there, it is here, and it will be there. That is the Rashtra concept we are saying. There are so many people, they have very much supported this view. I would like to mention one great thinker Bharat has produced, that is none other than Dr. Babasaheb Bhimarao Ramji Ambedkar. Ambedkar, when he was participating in the anthropology seminar in Columbia University in 1916, he mentioned about this oneness of this nation. That is not a mere geographical oneness, that is not a mere political oneness, it is a cultural, indubitable cultural unity. Let me quote from his famous speech, which has been published in the name Castes in India. I quote, "It is the unity of culture that is the basis of homogeneity. Taking this for granted, I venture to say that there is no country that can rival the Bharat." He has said India, but I have got a bit difficulty in saying India. Naturally, Bharat is coming out of me. I don't know why that disease came to me. That can rival the Bharat with respect to the unity of its culture. It is not only a geographical unity, but it has over and above all a deeper and a much more fundamental unity. This prayoga, this usage, you please specifically attend. The indubitable cultural unity that covers the land from end to end. That is what which we are discussing today also. Kashmira Shaivism between north and south of Bharat, between end to end of Bharat. This has been stated very clearly by Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar there in his most famous speech he delivered there in Columbia University. When we speak of national integration in contemporary Bharat, the conversation often remains confined to political structures, administrative unity, or constitutional definitions. While these are undoubtedly important, they represent only the outer framework of unity. Bharat was never held together merely by political power. Long before the idea of modern nation-state emerged, Bharat existed as a deeply integrated cultural and spiritual organism. Her unity arose not from uniformity, but from a shared metaphysical vision that allowed immense diversity to flourish without fragmentation. That I have already mentioned while I was explaining about the Chirarashtra Vada. Yet under colonial rule, this organic unity was systematically misunderstood and at times deliberately misrepresented. Bharat was described as a mosaic, a congeries of races, an artificial assemblage of mutually hostile regions and communities. Our philosophical traditions were presented as abstract, world-denying speculations. Our rituals were relegated to the domain of superstition. Regional forms like Teyyam, many of you might have seen that Teyyam has been made in, as a, on the wall of the entrance point. That is Teyyam. From those delegates who came from Kerala knows it very well, but others may not know about it. That's why I said, Teyyam were catalogued as folk survivals, devoid of philosophical content, while refined metaphysical traditions like Kashmiri Shaivism were either ignored or treated as esoteric curiosities. See, That's also a colonial construct that somewhat neglecting, belittling something very much valuable for Bharat as folk. This folk concept itself is a derogatory, erroneous concept. Erroneous concept. They have divided the whole society into two. One as a classic, modern, scientific society or urban-centered society. Others as folk. What does folk means? It's a Gramscian concept at the first instance itself. I would like to say the folk itself is a Gramscian concept. If you want to use something, you have to use lok. Lok is much beyond folk. There is not much time to elaborate about that, but we have to challenge these type of colonial binaries. That is the main necessity of these type of academic discussions. A truly decolonial approach must begin by challenging these frames. It must refuse the split between high philosophy and low ritual, between pan-Indian and local, between spiritual north and sensual south, between textual Brahmins and performative subalterns. Such binaries are not our inheritance. They are the residue of a gaze that did not understand how this civilization lives, thinks, and remembers. So two aspects are very much important, significant here. One is challenging these so-called frames, and another is reversing the gaze. We have to reverse the gaze. The framework is to be changed, and our gaze. We are looking at something from a particular standpoint. That is the whole problem which we are facing now. So we have to change the gaze. Now, what is the ground reality or ground of reality or the foundation of the reality? At the heart of our civilizational vision lies the understanding that reality itself is consciousness, bodha. Kashmir Shaivism articulates this with extraordinary clarity in the simple yet radical declaration, Chaitanyam Atma. The self is consciousness itself. Consciousness here is not an epiphenomenon of matter, not a byproduct of brain chemistry, not a passive witness standing apart from the world. It is vibrant, creative, and self-luminous. The Kashmiri Mahanaya Prakasha begins by paying obeisance to Shiva, whose very body is composed of consciousness. Sriman Mahaprakasha Vapuse Shivaya Namaha. That is what is being explained absolutely about Shiva. It is consciousness that becomes the universe, not through necessity or compulsion, but through freedom, through liberty. As the tradition beautifully states, Swechaya Sobhito Vishwam Unmilayate. By its own free will, consciousness unfolds the universe upon its own screen. What all beautiful scientific basic concept which our theory, Kashmiri Shaivism, has put forward before the society. This vision directly challenges modern epistemology, which tends to treat consciousness as something to be explained away. Our tradition reverses the gaze. It begins from lived awareness and sees matter, language, society, and history as configurations within it. This is not anti-scientific. It is a deeper understanding of what it means to know. Now we have to think whether Kashmiri Shaivism, already it has been mentioned by Ramananji and repeated by our, so already said by Adhyaksha Ramananji and also our Vice Chancellor. We have to think much deeper about that particular statement which they have made, that Kashmiri Shaivism, whether it is a metaphysical system alone or something beyond. Definitely, those who have gone deep into Shaivism, you will find to know that it is dharmic or ethics. It is also about a social vision. एक सामाजिक दृष्टि दर्शन. If consciousness alone is ultimately real, and if all beings are expressions of that same consciousness, then no social hierarchy can claim ultimate validity. No human being can be ontologically inferior. Distinctions of caste, language, region, or gender belong to the realm of social convention, not to the truth of being. In this sense, Kashmir Shaivism is not only a metaphysical system, it is also a profound ethical and social vision. It is not content with saying all is one. In some abstract way, it presses us to ask what that means for how we treat one another in everyday life. We never consider anyone as other. As far as Bharatiya thought system, especially Kashmir Shaivism, there is no other. We are not believing in otherism. See how beautifully Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore has put it in his famous book, Swadeshi Samaj. I would like to quote 2 or 3 sentences. I quote, "To feel unity in diversity, to establish unity amidst variety, that is the underlying dharma of Bharat. Bharat does not regard difference as hostility. She does not regard the other as enemy. That's why, without sacrifice of destruction, she wants to accommodate everybody within one great system. That is why she accepts always and sees the greatness of each in its own sphere." This same insight, when we apply it to the field of knowledge itself, leads to a decolonial imperative. If the one consciousness expresses itself in many forms, then Sanskrit Shastra and Malayalam Mandra or Kannada Mandra, Kashmiri philosophical verse and North Kerala oral performance or South Kannada oral performance are not to be ranked as high and low. They are different modalities of a shared intelligence. To dismiss oral or performative traditions as merely folk, to valorize only what appears in printed critical editions, is to replay in the academy the very hierarchies that Tantra and Shaivism often work to subvert on the ritual ground. Tantra in general and Kashmiri Shaivism in particular refuse to confine truth within rigid boundaries. That's also we all, those who are participating here are well versed in these type of theories, so I don't want to explain it much. We all are finding that beauty in Tantra and Kashmiri Shaivism in particular. Tantra is expansive by nature. It does not reject the world. It sanctifies it. It does not flee from embodiment. It divinizes it. Knowledge in the tantric worldview is not restricted to a privileged elite, to a single language, or to a single geography. It flows, adopts, transforms, and incarnates itself wherever the conditions are ripe. Arbitrary social barriers, linguistic limitations, and rigid conventions were not merely questioned, they were experientially transgressed. This expansive vision finds one of its most refined philosophical articulations in the Krama system. Krama affirms that absolute is not static or frozen perfection, but dynamic, pulsating awareness. Shakti stands at the center of this vision, not as a subordinate principle, but as the very power of manifestation. Every perception, every act of knowing, every ritual moment is a movement in this cosmic rhythm of consciousness recognizing itself. Krama gives us an indigenous model of thinking about plurality and historical process. See, here when we are thinking about this, there is a problem with this modern political discourse about all these things. It swings between two extremes. That's a problem which when we are engaging in the modern we are not supposed to engage in that dirty business, but we are living in that condition. That's why I am saying there is a problem with this modern political discourse. What are those two extremes? One is homogenizing centralization on the one hand and fragmentary identity politics on the other. Krama offers a different imagination. It shows us how stages can be recognized without absolutizing any one stage, how difference can be honored without losing sight of the underlying unity. It is a metaphysical corrective to both authoritarian uniformity and nihilistic fragmentization. Kashmir, as we know, occupies a unique place in this story. We are discussing about Kashmiri Shaivism and the connection with South. It is the land where this vision received its most explicit and rigorous articulation. In its Shaiva and Shakta traditions, Kashmir developed an intellectual culture in which reasoning, experience, and ritual mutually informed one another. Non-dualism here was not a mere slogan. It was carefully argued in dialogue with Buddhist logicians and Nayayikas. It was cultivated through meditative and ritual practices, and it was reflected upon in aesthetic and linguistic theory. The same Abhinavagupta, who writes as a theologian of Krama and Trika, also writes as commentator on the Natya Shastra. For him, rasa in theatre and rasa in mystical experience are not two unrelated domains. They are expressions of one underlying reality, the self-tasting itself. The self-tasting itself. Instead of forcing Kashmir Shaivism into modern frames, we should allow Kashmir Shaivism to question those frames. Instead of treating its rituals and myths as embarrassing add-ons to an otherwise philosophical system, we treat them as integral to how that philosophy is lived and known. And instead of seeing Kashmir as an isolated peak of refinement, we pay attention to the networks through which its ideas, mantras, and practices traveled across the nation. As this Kashmiri wisdom traveled southward, we are talking about Kerala, but I would like to speak something about Karnataka also, because we are partly Karnataka and Kerala here. As this Kashmiri wisdom traveled southward, it did not pass over Karnataka like a shadow. It took root and cross-pollinated. In the 12th century, Karnataka witnessed a spiritual revolution through Basavanna and Veerashaiva movement. Veerashaivism and Vachana tradition has its philosophical underpinnings in Kashmiri Pratyabhijna. Consider the philosophy of Shakti Vishishtadvaita. Like the Kashmiri masters, the Sharanas of Karnataka rejected the idea of the world as a falsehood, Maya. For them, the world is the Leela, play of Shiva. The Veerashaiva concept of Anga, Linga, Samarasya, the identity of the soul and the divine, is the poetic and practical equivalent of the Kashmiri recognition, Pratyabhijna, took different avatar, reformulated Advaitic vision, and became not just some philosophy, a way of life, embodied knowledge. I don't want to elaborate much. There is very good connection. So I would like to suggest Ramananji and his team to discuss about that connection of Kashmiri Shaivism flowing towards or flowing from or towards, I don't know. It is a continuum, so we cannot say that it is coming from somewhere to somewhere. Some is, superior. From there it is being flowed to somewhere it was inferior. That is not the case. So anyway, this connection, I think, the Vachana of Allama Prabhu often echoes the void or Shunya concept found in the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, a key Kashmiri test. When Allama speaks of the light within the light, he is speaking the language of Prakasha, the self-luminous light of Pratyabhijna. So this connection can also be discussed in detail. It is here that Kerala, and especially North Kerala, emerges as a vital partner in our reflection. Kerala is often described in contemporary discourse through cliches as God's own country, as a land of backwater and literacy, as the home of Ayurveda and Kathakali. Rarely is it recognized as a crucible of tantric embodiment, a region in which metaphysical intuitions find expression in extraordinary sophisticated ritual forms. To see Kerala in this way requires a decolonial shift of gaze. It requires us to take seriously what earlier administrators and ethnographers often dismissed as devil dancing, exorcism, or village cults. In North Kerala, the traditions of Theyyam, Kalameluttum Pattu, I think that we all are going to witness Kalameluttu Pattu in the evening time. Kalameluttum Pattu, sacred groves and village Bhagavati temples together with a highly developed corpus of temple tantra constitute a living archive of non-dual Shakta Shaiva imagination. These traditions do not write commentaries on the Shiva Sutras. They embody its insights in blood and fire, costumes and gestures, possession and blessing. To watch a Theyyam performance with philosophical sensitivity is to see concepts like Shakti, Krama, Avesha, Anugraha, hierarchy, and transgression. So we have to, when we are watching a Theyyam, with that philosophical sensitivity, we can all identify, we can be one with that Shakti, Krama, Avesha, Anugraha hierarchy, and that transgression we could feel. Consider again the figure of the Theyyam performer possessed by a fierce goddess, Mahachanda Yogeshwari herself. His social identity in the ordinary caste hierarchy might be low, yet in that ritual moment, he is the highest. People of all strata come before him, offer him gifts, seek his blessing, listen to his words as divine commands. If we approach this phenomenon through a colonial lens, we see only inversion. Perhaps temporary release, something to be filed under ritual rebellion. But if we approach it through the lens of Kashmir Shaiva metaphysics, we can see more. We can see the enactment of a truth proclaimed by Krama. Here the decolonial and the tantric converge. Tantra, when understood on its own terms, already undermines essentialist notions of social hierarchy. It is already said that this is a social vision also. Samajik Drishti. A decolonial reading recognizes and honors this subversive potential without reducing it either to modern liberal categories or to raw anthropology. It allows us to say this ritual is not just a pre-modern spectacle, it is also a sophisticated mode of articulating the non-dual Advaita. It is in its own language a commentary on Chaitanyam Atma. In the same region, the textual continuities we noted earlier further support this view. The composition of Bala Vimshati by Legu Bhattaraka in or near Nileshwaram, Nileshwaram is near Kanjangadu, and its incorporation into the Panchastavi, important in the religious life of Kashmiris who still follow the native tradition, in a concrete instance of what sustained this civilization. The ability of this culture to move between regions, languages, and forms without loss feeling its metaphysical core. A hymn born in the ecosphere of Kerala becomes nourishment for the devotional life of Kashmir. A Krama Shakta conceptuality forged in Kashmir finds ritual embodiment in Kerala. This is not linear influence. It is mutual participation in a shared field. Our work is not only critiquing Western categories, Some may think that I have started with criticizing Western view or gaze or something. But our work is not just mere criticizing. It is also, and perhaps more importantly, about recovering these inner linkages, seeing how places like Kashmir and Kerala have always been in dialogue, how Sanskrit and regional language have cross-fertilized, how high philosophy and so-called low ritual actually belong to one continuum. It is about reclaiming our own categories, Krama, Spanda, Shakti, Pratyabhijna, as living tools for thinking rather than as philosophical museum pieces. Let us look more closely at the notion of cultural flows in this light. Colonial accounts often described the cultural influence in Bharat as something that flowed one way, from an imagined Aryan center to local peripheries, or from Sanskrit to vernaculars. Later, in some nationalist retellings, this narrative was inverted but not fundamentally challenged. Now the periphery asserted itself against the center. What remains under-examined is the older civilizational reality in which center and periphery were not hard opposites, in which Sanskrit and regional languages were part of one overlapping continuum, in which ritual and philosophy informed one another. Krama speaks of sequences, but not of absolute beginnings or ends. Each stage emerges from the one before and prepares the one after. Each stage emerges from the one before and prepares the one after. No stage is everything. No stage is nothing. The same can be said of our regional and textual traditions. Kashmir is not the origin of Shaiva thought, nor is Kerala a mere derivative. Each is a crystallization of a wider field. To map influence solely from north to south or south to north is to miss the deeper dynamic in which both participate. Why I have given much emphasis to this particular point, you are all intelligent people, you can understand. Some are nowadays saying that it has gone from here to there. Some sort of superiority mentality, rebellious mentality against the established facts. Similarly, the distinction between spiritual geography and political geography becomes crucial in our perspective. Modern Bharat inherited political maps, lines drawn to delineate provinces, states, districts. Ancient Bharat lived through spiritual maps, networks of tirthas, circuits of pilgrimage, mandala-based visualization of space. That has been somewhat mentioned by Honorable Adhyaksha in his speech also. Space. Routes traveled by monks and mendicants, by bards and teachers, by tantric gurus and their disciples. In such a world, what mattered was whether a place fit into a sacred geography, not whether it fell on this or that side of modern boundary. That particular sentence also has got great meaning also. Okay. Pilgrimage routes ignored distance. Mantra lineages flowed across mountains and rivers. A Kashmiri adept could travel south, bringing with him a lineage of Shakta mantras. A Kerala Tantrik could travel north, seeking initiation in a particular Krama stream. These movements were not recorded in colonial gazetteers. They lived in oral lineages, in temple chronicles, in the subtle resemblances between rituals far apart. To rebuild even a partial sense of this spiritual geography is a decolonial project of the highest order, because it allows us to see our own land anew, not as a patchwork of states, but as a living mandala. The Pidhas invoked by the practitioner in his own body assert that the nation's geography is made alive by sites that pulsate and radiate Shakti. The individual and the collective are not fundamentally different. Vyashti and Samashti. Akhanda mandalagaram vyaptam yena characharam tatpadam darshitam yena tasmai sri gurave nama. When we are talking about Guru, Guru is such a person who gives this knowledge about this mandala, this Akhanda Mandala Kara. Brahmayamala speaks of a series of 9 lotuses, spans the body's axis from crest, that is Shikha, to feet, linked by a thread called Shakti Tandu. It further says, Nadhyatmena bina vahyam, Nadhyatmam vahya varjitam, Siddhe jnanakriyabhyam, Tadvidiyam samprakashate. So, the periphery and the center both are important and both are illuminating mutually. The pair of inner and outer illuminate together through gnosis and ritual. And the inner and outer are incomplete individually. In this spiritual geography, Kashmir and Kerala stand close to each other. They are both strong nodes of Shiva Shakti worship, both places where Tantra flourished in sophisticated forms. Both regions where non-dual insights found enduring expression. To bring them into conversation, as this seminar does, is not to artificially link two extremes of a map. It is to realign our vision with an older pattern that colonial modernity blurred. Let me now turn more explicitly to the question of national integration, understood in a Bharatiya sense. Bharat will remain united, I said earlier, not by fear or force, but by shared spiritual memory. This is not a pious slogan, it is a historical observation. Empires held territories together through force. This civilization held itself together through recognition. Through the recognition of common narratives, shared sacred figures, overlapping ritual forms, and a broadly aligned vision of reality. So, let me conclude it as fast as I could. When Kashmir is reduced only to a political issue, a security question, a zone of contestation, we lose its civilizational meaning. When Kerala is reduced only to tourism, carnival, or ideological battlegrounds, we lose its metaphysical depth. To reclaim both, we must reinscribe them into the story of Bharat as a consciousness civilization. It is being said that without Bharat, Kashmir is dangerous. Without Kashmir, Bharat is incomplete. In the same way, without Kerala, Bharat is incomplete. Without Bharat in Kerala, Kerala is dangerous. So in that way also we have to think this aspect. Shaivism, especially in its Krama and Trika articulations, reminds us that unity does not erase diversity and difference does not threaten coherence. Krama teaches us that the stages do not cancel one another. These are the days of cancel culture. They fulfill and deepen one another. Similarly, regions do not negate the nation. They complete it. A decolonial Bharatiya nationalism must be built on this insight. It cannot be a nationalism of flattening, of demanding sameness, nor can it be the nationalism of perpetual grievance. It must be a nationalism of Krama, recognizing the many forms in which the one consciousness of this land has manifested and allowing them to enrich one another. As scholars, we have a twin responsibility. We must, on the one hand, master the tools of rigorous historical and philological research. We must know our Abhinava Gupta as well as any Indologist. We must read our Kerala Tantras as carefully as any textual critic. On the other hand, we must refuse to be confined by the frames that came with those tools. We must dare to interpret our materials in ways that speak to our civilizational needs, that contribute to our collective self-understanding, not just to academic debates in far-off journals. This does not mean romanticizing the past or ignoring real conflicts and problems. It means reading our sources with a double vision, attentive to their historical context and also attentive to their potential as resources for thinking today. When Kashmir Shaivism insists that every act of cognition is already vimarsha, reflective awareness, and that bondage arises from contracted forms of that awareness, we might ask, how has our collective awareness been contracted by colonial narratives? When Kerala's Theyyam traditions enact the divinization of the marginal body, we might ask, how can this imagery help us rethink social justice in terms deeper than imported ideologies? I'm underlining imported ideologies. On our own base, we have to see all these things. Let me move then towards a more contemplative close without losing the decolonial thread. Bharat, in the deepest sense, is not held together by roads or railways. Though we are grateful for those, it is held together by recognition, pratyabhijna. The very school of Kashmir Shaivism that refined the doctrine of recognition can serve as a metaphor for the work ahead of us. When the limited self recognizes itself as Shiva, bondage loosens and freedom dawns. When a region recognizes itself in another region, the chains of narrow identity begin to soften. When Kashmir recognizes itself in Kerala and Kerala recognizes itself in Kashmir, Bharat recognizes itself. This seminar, therefore, is not merely about the study of Krama. In a subtle way, it is Krama. It is one more step in a long sequence of civilizational self-remembrance. Each paper presented, each conversation held over tea, each connection made across disciplines and regions is part of that sequence. In coming together free here, in invoking both Kashmir and Kerala, in placing philosophy beside ritual, text beside performance, we are quietly defying the fragmenting logic of colonial modernity. We are saying these belong together. They have always belonged together. May this remembrance deepen our scholarship, enrich our practice, and strengthen the invisible bonds that have always held this civilization together. May we leave this gathering not only with more information, but with a slightly clearer inner map of Bharat, in which the corridors between Kashmir and Kerala, between text and ritual, between philosophy and life are illuminated. May our scholarship become, in however small a way, an extension of sadhana, a disciplined, loving effort to see more clearly what is. And may the rhythm of Krama, the unfolding and recollection of consciousness, be felt quietly but unmistakably in the way we think, speak, and act together. If we can allow Krama to be not just a subject of study but a way of being, if we can honor the sequence of experiences, the diversity of expressions, while holding fast to the unity of consciousness, then this seminar will have done more than produce proceedings. It will have contributed, however modestly, to the decolonial task of recentering Bharat in her own categories, of allowing this land to know herself again as a consciousness civilization. Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya.
Now, I invite Professor Ajay Kumar Singh to deliver the vote of thanks.
नमस्ते शारदे देवी काश्मीर पूर्ववासिनी त्वामहं प्रार्थे नित्यं विद्यादानं च देहि मे एल्लवरुक्कम नमस्कारम. It's my privilege and opportunity to present vote of thanks of the inaugural session of this great occasion when we are conducting this 2 days international conference on Krama and cultural flow, Kashmir Shaivism between north and south part of India, as Bhaisab has said. So this inaugural session is an illuminating session of the profound philosophy of Kashmir Saiva tradition, the depth of wisdom shared today have truly enriched us all. First and foremost, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to Srila Sri Nandakumar ji. Srila Sri and Srila Sri. As Nandakumar ji, he has graced us with their presence of keynote speaker and shared profound insight into the rich cultural ties of northern and southern part of the country through Kashmir Saiva tradition. The expertise has given us a deeper understanding of the theme. He is nurturing young and bright minds of the country like us since many decades. His contribution for the cultural integration of the Bharat is remarkable. We are very much thankful to Srila Sri Vice Chancellor Sir also to inaugurate this function and to give his lecture also. And as he has told that metaphysical aspects of the awareness of Kashmir Saivism needs to be recognized, and there must be research on that also. He has also talked about the civilizational revival. As I used to say that this is not actually civilizational revival, civilizational continuity, as Bhai Sahib has also told that Indian knowledge system is in continuity, like Shiva and Shakti is there. If Shakti is not there, then Shiva becomes Sav. So all these traditions are contemporary for each other, and I'm also thankful to chairperson of this session, Professor Janamnews Mishra sir, who has told many things about this Kashmir Saivism, and two most important things has been said by him, 3S and 3T. Shastra and sadhana has to go together, and thinker, tradition and text needs to be analyzed with time and space so that we can understand the continuity of Indian civilization. So I'm very thankful on behalf of Abhinav Institute of Advanced Studies, Kerala, Central University of Kerala, ICPR, and Center for Sanskrit Studies, JNU. I'm also thankful to Member Secretary of ICPR, Professor Sachidanand Misrji, on his absentia, because he has provided us this sponsorship, and that's why we are here also. And I'm also like to extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Ramanandji, who is director of Abhinav Institute of Advanced Studies, who is the chief architect of this conference. His dedication and commitment towards Bharat has made this conference possible. We are thankful to dedicated organizing team of Dr. R. Ramanandji. They came from Vagaman and they are working tirelessly from morning to evening, as I have seen yesterday also. And my appreciation also goes out to all other scholars, artists and guides who contributed to the program, adding creative or cultural touch to this event. Words are not enough to thank our wonderful audience and galaxy of scholars like Khanna ma'am, like Dhar sir, like Tyagi madam, and many other scholars sitting on in front of this dais. Your presence is the true measure of this seminar success. We are thankful to all media persons, technical staff and administrative staff of the university, including Jai Prakash ji. We are thankful to one and all who are associated with this seminar. Finally, I would like to say a few words that the journey from ignorance to knowledge in Kashmir Saivism. Avidya in Kashmir Saivism is basically not false knowledge or not untruth. That is restricted knowledge. So our journey is from restricted knowledge to unlimited knowledge. From limitations to freedom is the essence of Kashmir Saivism. And we are here to come out from that limitation, and we need to feel liberated. As Bhai Sahib has said one word in his last talk, he has said that without Bharat, Kerala is dangerous. Like without Shakti, Shiva becomes Sava. So that is very much needed, and that's why today we have all taken a step forward on that path. I thank you all once again for the bottom of my heart, and hope that we will continue to explore this rich spiritual and cultural heritage together in upcoming sessions. And as it has been said in Kashmir Saivism, Sivoham. So I would like to say that Sivoham, Sivovayam. So we all are Siva. Thank you very much.
We will now go for a short tea break. Kindly join us back after having refreshments.
Okay,